Peace, 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 ladies and gentlemen.
I got you, bro. I wasn't going nowhere. I was just trying to get TJ to be quiet, man. You let TJ go crazy, man. All of a sudden, you know where we're gonna be at. But I got you. Boy, how you doing?
I'm great. Yourself, fam?
Good to see you, man. I see my man Damany, Terrence, Donovan, and Miss. How do I say that? I don't want to say it wrong. Are you on mute? Could you speak up a little bit? We can't hear you.
Romarilyn.
You can hear her voice. You can hear her sound.
I can read her lips, and
I have to come back in because we can't hear your sound. And
your sound is having issues.
We want to hear you. So
we
go
need
out
to
and come
hear
back
you.
in. We definitely need to hear you. And we got, just make sure that those people, if you want to get involved, this is the panel right here. I've been waiting for. So we brought some friends from out of state. We always say bring people from OT. Y'all see how we do it though. We got the music and everything. I know y'all thought y'all was gonna come to some boring conference, right? Y'all come in here and we are the world, man. Y'all ain't know. Damany ain't know what you was getting into, man. I told you.
Had no clue, bro. No clue.
Man, this is what we doing. We want to hear your expertise in the way that you guys have built these bridges. We want to hear where you're from. And you know, my man Sean, this is my guy. I just want you to know we go way back. So he was perfect for this panel right here. You know, he uses a lot of chess analogies. I don't know if y'all play chess, but this is my guy right here. So we're gonna move forward. Sean, I'm gonna just pass the baton to you, man. I'm right in the cut, man. I got your back. I'm not sure we're gonna wait till Romarilyn comes in. I thought we had Danny coming through, but I'm not sure. I thought we had one more person coming through. So I'm not sure. He might pop in later, but I was almost positive that he said he was coming through. Damany, didn't you talk to him?
I didn't talk to him, but yeah, I assumed he was.
Yeah, I'm not sure,
here, maybe,
but he might come through. So
yeah.
we're gonna get that started. I don't know if you brothers have been here, but we got the legend Bill Dyson here, just sitting in the cut, man, overseeing. He's staying right in the corner, man, making sure we do everything right, man. He paved the way, opened the door, like he kicked the door down. No matter of fact, he took the door off the hinges, right? So now the door can't even be closed, man. It's crazy, man. We in here. So, Romarilyn, you in here? Can we hear you now?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Right. We can hear you now. We can hear you now, Queen. Definitely.
It's all you,
awesome.
Baby. It's all you.
Peace, peace, ladies and gentlemen. Sean on deck, Reeves, Minister of Information for Sport Academy. I'm gonna be your moderator for the day. Just a real brief piece of history about myself. I am a formerly incarcerated individual. 3-time convicted felon. Last sentence was 8 years. I served 6 years and 11 months off an 8-year sentence. Finished all my time on parole, at home, stuff like that. Moving forward, 2011, I became a father of a homicide victim. My oldest son was slain in the streets of New Haven due to gun violence, and this is what brought me to these battlefronts. Enough about me, though. Out-of-state justice reformers. I like the sound of that, and I want to hear about what you guys do. So we're going to start off with the Queen first. Miss Romarilyn Ralston, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and why you do this kind of work.
Well, thank you, Sean. Thank you for having me on this very distinguished panel. I appreciate all the love. Donovan, good to see you. It's been too many years. Really honored to be amongst all of you, especially you, Mr. Dyson. Thank you so much for all that you've done for the movement. My name is Romarilyn Ralston. I'm a Black feminist, abolitionist, and scholar. I have an incarceration experience of 23 years in the California prison system. And I've been, working hard for the last 30 years, against, injustices of all types, inside prison, now outside of prison. A lot of my organizing work is statewide with the California Coalition for Women Prisoners. We monitor and challenge the abusive conditions inside women's prisons. We advocate and fight for women, gender nonconforming, and trans people all over the state, helping to provide a number of resources and avenues towards commutation and release. That's my side hustle. My day job is I'm the program director for Project Rebound at Cal State University Fullerton. We support the higher education and successful reintegration of the formerly incarcerated. I've been the program director there for 4 years. Project Rebound is a 53-year-old organization that was started by a formerly incarcerated man who served 5 years in Soledad prison here in California in the 1950s. And after his release, John Irwin continued his education at UCLA and graduated with his undergrad degree in sociology, went on to UC Berkeley, got his PhD and started teaching at San Francisco State and started Project Rebound in 1967. So for 53 years, we've been providing access to higher ed for those with an incarceration experience so that we can not just survive after release, but thrive as scholars among our communities. So I appreciate you all again for having me today. And that's my intro.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very powerful. Congratulations. And that's the first time I've ever heard about that organization. 50-something years, that's huge. Before we go any further, I just need to stop and take a second to acknowledge all of these powerful minds on this circuit. Daryl hooked me into this thing, and I didn't expect to see half the people that I see here doing this kind of work. Mr. Dyson, he's been a legend inside of New Haven all my life. I've heard his name as a kid, and even as an adult now. Barbara Fair, I've had the opportunity to bump into her along my travels. Very powerful woman inside my city as well. I look forward to these opportunities moving forward with these things, with all of these great minds here. So moving forward, Donovan, you're up next.
Okay.
Tell us about yourself and what brought you to this kind of work.
Okay, no problem. My name is Donovan Harris. I'm from Akron, Ohio. I am a person that did 13 years of incarceration. From the age of 18 to 32, I was in Ohio prisons. I've been released and free and back in society for the last 18 years, the last 10 of which I've been involved in some form of reentry. I feel that I walk daily in my purpose, which is to help people who have traveled the road I've traveled and experienced some of the things that I've experienced to help them make the transition. So when we talk about reentry in Ohio, I've been pushing the line that I don't really believe that the work I do is reentry related. I believe reentry is on each individual. I believe individuals do their own work in reentry while they are in the prison. Your reentry starts the day you are sentenced. So the ultimate goal is restoration. We are trying to become restored citizens. In between reentry and restoration is redirection. We are trying to redirect individuals from old thought patterns, old behavior patterns, old way of dealing with trauma towards a new day, a new way. So I work in the field of redirection in Summit County. After being released from prison, I came home to nothing. There was nothing in my community for a person like me who had did 13 years. I came home with the mentality of an 18-year-old boy in the body of a 32-year-old man. So it was a quest to try to find some way to create programming, some way to connect with programming, somewhere that could help people like me. I felt like for a long time I existed on an island by myself, that nobody could understand what I was going through. And I was directed to a place I now work called South Street Ministries, where I'm the executive director of South Street's Reentry Service. I'm also the president of Summit County's Reentry Coalition. I sit on the board of maybe 4 or 5 organizations in my community that work with reentry. And daily I walk in my purpose of helping my people return not to society, because I don't believe we are out of society. I believe that we are just in a different segment of society where we are existing, but we are not out of society. We are still part of this thing. So yeah, I can talk forever. Let me stop. That's what I do.
Listen, brother, appreciate you. Definitely appreciate you, man. That's a lot and a lot of hard work. Listen, every day, trust me, just being a Black man walking in your shoes, right?
Mhm.
Trying to do something positive for people like yourself and other community members, man. It's a battle, a constant battle every day. Trust me, I understand completely. Up next, we're gonna have Damany Fisher. Did I pronounce that right, sir?
Yes, indeed. Yes,
All right, peace,
indeed.
brother. Expound on us, who you are and why you do this work.
Yes, thank you. And I'm honored to be here with this esteemed panel. Thanks to Daryl and Andrew for inviting me. My name is Damany Fisher. I am the Regional Director of Special Projects, hosted at a community college in California called Kenyatta College. I come into this work. First of all, I'm the least qualified person to serve on this panel. I am not formally incarcerated. I entered into this work due to my work teaching inside prison. Solano Community College, which is where I used to work, has a prison program in 2 state prisons in Vacaville, California, the Correctional Medical Facility, and the California State Prison, Solano. And I taught history. I taught history at both facilities. And I fell in love with teaching that population. It was by far the most fulfilling teaching experience I ever had. And of course, that experience was made possible by legislation that was passed by the California State Legislature in 2014, SB 1391, which allowed for community colleges to provide face-to-face courses or in-person courses, as long as they lead to a transferable degree. So I, from that work, the president of Solano tasked me with developing a reentry program because, while we were doing all this great work inside the prisons, there was nothing outside for folks to continue their education at Solano College upon their transition. And so from that, I was able to apply for a couple of grants. We were able to develop a program called SOAR, Students Overcoming Adversity and Recidivism, which is one of dozens of on-campus programs on California community colleges, very similar to Project Rebound, in fact. But we serve community college students, which we hope to then send to Project Rebound at the California State University, and also the Underground Scholars Program at the UC. But there's just, we're part of there's a really a statewide movement. And is it Romarilyn? Romarilyn can attest to the great work that's happening in California, especially where community colleges are concerned, to provide support services to formerly incarcerated students to help guide them through every aspect of the process from registration to graduation. And so I have transitioned away from working with that particular program. I now work on behalf of all 28 Bay Area colleges. And my special project that I'm working on is to help engage employers around the issue of fair chance hiring. And so I've been doing a lot of work. I actually organized, we have a webinar coming up next month that is geared toward helping employers, encouraging them to adopt best practices when it comes to fair chance hiring.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. And don't think you're the least qualified, fam.
No.
You got an inside window, right? Yeah. To issues that you feel or that you can help create some type of avenue to change. So don't feel like you're underqualified just because you didn't. Everybody doesn't have to be incarcerated to feel like they're qualified to do this kind of work. Some people are born into these communities, and they may go to the most pristine colleges and make it out successfully, but that doesn't mean they're not impacted. They don't have, they usually have other family members that are impacted. So don't feel like, you're the least qualified for this kind of work, brother. We're all qualified for this work because we're all human beings and we respect humanity.
I appreciate that.
Mr. Hinton, you're up.
Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you, Daryl, for allowing me to serve on this esteemed panel. I'm truly honored to be serving with you all on this panel. Again, my name is Terrence Hinton. I am Currently live in Columbus, Ohio, originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So my story is a little bit different, much like Damany, I believe is what how you pronounce it. I do not have any sort of prison experience, but much like Sean just talked about, I have several family members who are still currently incarcerated. And so, you know, I went to college, played football as a free safety, and I just knew that I wanted to be in law enforcement. I wanted to be a special agent in the FBI. Went through a 1.5-year process, and I was formally accepted into the FBI Academy. So my career path was straight, or so I thought. And right around that time was when a lot of my family members, including somebody very close to me, became incarcerated. There was a government shutdown, and so there was a big hiring freeze. And this is when this all happened. And I started to see, when my relatives came out, all the barriers that they had to face. And I remember getting very upset and asking the question, how is my family member supposed to survive and be a productive citizen if y'all are not going to give him an opportunity? You set all these barriers. And so that led me along the path of reentry. I didn't know the first thing about it, but I knew I had a lot to learn. And so I went back to school. And for the last several years, up until January of this year, I worked for a nonprofit organization called ALVIS in Columbus, Ohio, where we serve individuals who are coming out of our state penitentiaries throughout Ohio, as well as federal clients, you know, all over the United States. And particularly, I was a reentry program manager, where I managed a program called Hire and Edge. And so I've worked with close to 2,500 individuals, and I fell in love from day one from working with our clients. A lot of them have become my friends. I text them literally every day, trying to, you know, see how they are and what they're doing. And so particularly last year with the EDGE program, it was a workforce development program that was designed to not only help individuals get a job, but really to address those other holistic barriers, such as mental health, substance abuse, housing. So it was really a comprehensive program. It was very intimate. We had 36 total participants last year. Brand new program kicked off by the city of Columbus and the Mayor Ginter administration. And it was for 1 year that they were going to fund us to see how we were going to do. Of course, you all know what happened in March of last year. COVID changed everything. But I'm very competitive. Again, I'm a former athlete. And so I didn't let that stop me. I was just trying to figure out, you know, another way how to serve my clients. So we finished up the year. 31 out of 36 of my clients were not only employed, many of them got credentials, industry recognized credentials, including CDL. I have one lady client. She's about to finish up her real estate license. I have 5 of my clients that are currently enrolled in college, working on their associate's degrees. I got 3 that are they got their GEDs, OSHAs. I have 1 that started their own business. So I'm really proud of the work that was done. And so because of how well we did, they gave us funding for 2021. But for me, I knew it was time for me to step away, because I kind of wanted to expand and see what else was going on, around the country. I wanted to take reentry to another level. And so I stepped away a month ago, and I'm gonna tell you, I miss it greatly. I miss working with my clients. Many of them became my friends. And so, I could go on and on about it, but I love the work that I do. And I currently also teach at the Ohio State University in the sociology department. I recently found out that I'm going to be teaching corrections in our Ohio Prison Exchange program, much like what Mr. Fisher does in 2022. I'm going to have to wait for the rest of the year due to COVID, but I'll be going back into prison. There was a time, 2019, that I would go into facilities throughout Ohio to work on reentry programming, because I saw a lot of my clients that were coming to class and they just were not prepared. And so I realized I needed to take it a step further. And so I did that prior to COVID. So I'm excited to be going back into the prisons in 2022. So yeah, looking to expand it nationwide and see what and work with people like yourself, individuals like yourself. I stay hungry with it all day. It's personal to me. And it's one of those things where I always tell my clients, I don't care what you did in the past, I care what you do next. And so it's something that's very important to me. So pleasure to be with you all. Thank you again for Daryl for allowing me to serve on this panel. And that's my story.
Thank you. Listen, man, it's an honor to sit amongst such superheroes, man. These contributions, as small as some of us may try and make them out to be, you know, I look at this gallery of faces and minds and great people. And I'm a kid of the 70s. So, you know, I watched things like the Super Friends and the Justice League and all of those things, man. And that's what it is. That's what this is to me. You know, we have the ability to save the world in my mind, you know, at least. But, you know, it's up to us in each one of our contributions. You know, I met Mr. McGraw inside a prison. He was going to college and I was jealous. You know, so again, you know, those things are very, very, very important, man, because there's a lot of great minds inside the institution that have not been serviced, have not even had an opportunity to try to get to a college, let alone do anything outside of that. So, you know, being able to get those guys, those types of opportunities, and those women, much respect, much respect. So moving right along, man, we got about 45 minutes and I don't want to take up any time. The floor is you guys. So, you know, I want you guys to go for it. I always like to leave the red carpet for the queen first, and then we take it from there, gentlemen. I'm just, you know, I was raised a certain kind of way. By more women than men, I understand the power that women hold upon the world. There are first teachers and there are nurturers, you know, so you have it, young lady.
Again, Sean, I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for all of that recognition, and I really appreciate that. Thanks everyone for sharing. Thank you for your work. I love what you said, that we're superheroes. I believe that. I know in the work that I do every day, it changes lives, it changes hearts and minds. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me. Higher education, I believe, is one of the greatest transformative powers that exist. The 23 years I was in a cage in California, that's what I did in some shape, form, or fashion. It was higher ed or vocation or working. But, you know, through it all, it was always my desire, my thirst for higher education that kept me centered in the prison, that helped me to survive those 2+ decades. As you know, we worked through the 94 crime bill, eliminating Pell Grant access for incarcerated students, to a bunch of diploma mill type schools coming in and extorting money from, you know, vulnerable folks, to finally, as was mentioned with SB 1391 in 2014, regaining access to community college programs, regionally, local, accredited college programs that could provide the support that incarcerated students needed to transition to one of the CSUs or one of the UCs. The CSU is the largest public university system in the country, and it's our duty to provide a bridge and an avenue for all students, especially those who are marginalized, who are low income, who are Black and brown, and who have, you know, faced all kinds of injustices. You know, incarcerated people, when we're released from prison, we face 48,000 collateral consequences. So we have a lot to deal with. But when we have access to education and support networks and programs that help us with that transition, we're unstoppable. A lot of the words that you said today, Sean, was so empowering and uplifting. And that's what it's all about. Donovan said it. Reentry starts the day that we are arrested. The day they say, put your hands up, is the day we start thinking about our next move, how we're going to reinvent ourselves, how we're going to move forward and not ever be in that situation again. At least that was my experience. And I've never had to have that experience again. So it's just reclaiming your own power. And as a Black person in America, that's a struggle, because everywhere we look and everywhere we turn, we see the injustices of the system, you know, the inequality, the institutional and systemic racism that continues to persist no matter how hard we, you know, change things. We can get in positions of power, we can get money, we can do all of these things, but no matter who you are in America, you know, one of the richest countries in the world, in California, the 5th largest economy in the world, the color of your skin matters.
Right.
And so even as an educator, it's a struggle. So reentry becomes really important, especially in California, because we have 35 prisons within this state. It's $81,000. It costs $81,000 to incarcerate one adult person. 90% of all incarcerated adults have long histories of trauma. And so our reentry into society has to be one that has guardrails and supports so that folks don't re-enter. Our recidivism rate here is 50%. So the work that we do with Project Rebound and within the California Coalition for Women Prisoners is to provide those guardrails that support, you know, and those opportunities that so many systems that exist within those 48,000 collateral consequences tell us we don't have a right to. And we do have a right to it. You know, we have a right to life, liberty, and prosperity like everyone else. And so my job every day is to make sure that incarcerated people are prepared when they get out, and to be that warm handoff, you know, to be that support for them coming out, whether it's higher ed or not. If it's not higher ed, that's fine. So we work on commutation packets, we work on parole packets, we have parole preparation, we have employment opportunities, fellowships, internships, scholarships, housing. Everything that I needed when I was inside all those years, I have tried to manifest for my people. Right. And if I haven't thunk of it yet, you know, give me a minute or give me an opportunity to make it happen for you. So as I'm on this panel today, just sharing a little bit about the work that I do in California, I am going to write down everything y'all say, because if you're doing it and doing it well, I'm going to replicate it here in California. And please call on me at any time. I want to help you do your thing, whether or not you're in Ohio or Connecticut, wherever you are. If higher education is the space that you're trying to get into, you know, hit me up. I'll put my information in the chat. And finally, and then I'll pass the mic. I just want to give a shout out to John Lucas for inviting me to this panel to just sit here with you brothers. Y'all are beautiful. And I'm just really honored to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, salute to the Queen always. I'm going to throw a couple of questions out, gentlemen, and then, you know, we can just expound on these things, man. So what are the challenges you guys seen trying to help people transition back into the community? And then 2, is there anybody that you've seen come through your programs that have made a change or a great transition and never looked back? Whoever wants to go first, go ahead, Terrence. You got the floor.
Thank you, Sean. So one of the first things, one of the biggest challenges, obviously COVID changed a lot, particularly in the employment sector, where it was already hard enough for my students to be able to get good jobs because of their background. But when the pandemic happened, a lot of the people who were getting laid off took those jobs. So it became that much more competitive. And so that was one of our biggest challenges. With the economy starting to improve, a lot of people are going back into those positions. But it's always, the biggest challenge for me has always been client Terrence Hinton is great, he's qualified, but his record, his charge. And so I have gotten to a point now where I challenge employers, and I understand, liability is a big thing, and it really depends on the industry. But a lot of times I'm starting to see a lot of my clients get disqualified for things that don't necessarily make sense. One individual, and this is kind of combining both of your questions, one individual that I know in my program, he did a 27-year sentence. He was bonded over as a juvenile, got out, and kind of speaks to what Donovan was talking about earlier. When I spent a lot of time with him, I was asking him questions because I realized I need to get educated about, okay, what is it like? What are your challenges? And he said from the day he went in, mentally, he was already out of prison. And so he took these steps and did all these qualifications because his dream was to get a CDL. So I started working with him closely. He had a baby on the way. He had 2 daughters. This man had completely changed his life. If you saw him and you spoke to him, you would never even know that this brother did 27 years, extremely polished. So we go through this process of getting funding for his CDL. And all the way at the very end, I get blindsided by, well, because of his charge, we don't know that we can fund him. And so I pretty much challenged the employer, what does his charge have to do with driving a truck? I basically put it to them. I said, what does this really have to do with him driving a truck? Are you really concerned that he is going to do this again? And so I really challenged them and really kind of made them see, like, wait a minute, this really does not make any sense. I vouched for him. I wrote him a letter of recommendation. I said, please interview. They asked him a lot of questions, and long story short, they gave him the funding and he's now currently working. So he's completely turned around his life. So I'm proud of it. But one of the things I always think about is how many other people are in his same position, qualified. They've done everything that they've been asked to do. And now you're going to go back 28 years and disqualify him for something he did. I'm not minimizing anything, but you're going to disqualify him now. And by the way, what does that charge have to do with him driving a truck? Let's really talk about that. And so when I really challenged them in a respectful way, it made sense. Like, this really doesn't make sense. And so what my next step is now is challenging employers regarding their policies to really think about what you're doing here. Just saying that, well, Terrence Hinton is disqualified because he's got a felony. Okay, why don't we dig deeper and say, well, wait a minute, what is this charge? And does this really make sense? Okay, if you've robbed 10 banks and you want to work in a bank, I could understand why you might have some hesitation to that. Okay, but if you were doing something completely different, well, what's wrong with that? And it had nothing to do. So I've started to challenge that, but I still get a lot of pushback from employers that it's a blanket, well, you got a felony, that's it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're not going to even revisit the issue, even though it doesn't make sense. And so that's something that I have had struggles with. But I say all that to say, I got one, and he's in, and he's doing a great job. He's turned his life around. And so I'm very excited about it. And so
And listen, and that's what the work is about, right? That's what the work is about. You know what I mean? We can't save them all, but we could save as many lives as possible. And we start with one and let the numbers increase.
Absolutely.
To focus a little bit on the human rights aspect of it. Damany, you were part of creating some type of legislation, were you not?
No, I actually no, but I did take advantage of it.
Okay, talk about it, please.
Well, you mean, are you referring to the legislation that I mentioned earlier about SB 1391?
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, as I mentioned, that legislation allowed for community colleges to operate inside state prisons to offer in-person classes. But I think that, and that's been going quite well. I want to say that out of the 35 prisons, Romarilyn, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 34 out of those 35 prisons now have a relationship with a local community college. And if it's not a local community college, then this is probably one of the community colleges that offers correspondence education. So that's pretty good, 34 out of 35. The problem, or at least I should say the challenge, is, okay, well, what next? Now that we have, hundreds, and if, the number is climbing. I mean, we actually have over 6,000 students who are currently incarcerated. The challenge is, okay, what do we?
Sorry, Damany, it's 10,000.
Please correct me. Thank you for that. What do we do with those students, once they transition out? How can we help them continue their education? And more importantly, how can we provide them with all of the wraparound support services that they need in order to pursue their education? Because, as you know, we're dealing with a population that faces lots of obstacles, upon their release. One of those obstacles is, affordable housing, which is an intractable problem everywhere, but especially in California. We have a reputation for being one of the most expensive states, and that is true. When you add to that someone who has a felony or background, it makes it that much more difficult for that person to access housing. And of course, if we expect students to be successful, we expect them to, complete their programs. They must have a stable place to live. They must have an environment that is conducive for them to be students. And so when I was overseeing the program at Solano College, the housing issue was something that it just overwhelmed us. And it wasn't something that we were able to really, solve. We had students who were, living in their vehicles. I recall dropping off Chromebooks, textbooks to students at a nearby parking lot. And that was something that and it still is, it's a major issue. I'm happy to report that since I have left, the program has developed a partnership with some supportive, rather I should say, transitional housing agencies that serve the county. And so we have now 4 students who have been housed. But it's only 4 students. It's just really a drop in the bucket. So the housing is a major problem, and I'm sure it's a problem, for everyone here on the call. So there has to be, additional resources and support, allocated, to help justice-involved individuals be able to live. How can we expect them to, hold down a career when they don't have any kind of stability in their personal life? So that, to me, there are many challenges. The employment, brother touched on it. I mean, that's my focus now, is engaging employers and really trying to pinpoint, okay, what is the problem? Okay, what is it about, this individual here with a record that makes you not want to hire them when they are just as qualified, skilled, talented, and they have the life experience that could help your company. So for me, this is going to be a major. This is like the next frontier. We have all these students who are, taking classes inside. They are now taking classes once they transition out of prison. But what's waiting for them at the end? what is waiting for them at the end? So when we talk about career pathways, we have to be intentional and deliberate when we are, talking about creating career pathways for those who are justice involved. And I think that, it requires working with employers, engaging employers, helping employers to, see that it's in their best interest, right? To tap into, this talented pool, folks who can really make a contribution. That's, it requires employers to do a lot of work though. And so one of the things that we've been pushing is that we've been identifying fair chance employers and having those employers talk to other employers, because I can talk to employers until I'm blue in the face, but employers are only going to listen to other employers at the end of the day. For the webinar that we scheduled, that we organized for next month, we have identified several fair chance employers like Checker Inc., a company out of San Francisco, Microsoft, that's done some work around this as well. And, they're going to be saying, hey, here's, this has been our experience, and we've hired folks with backgrounds, and they've done great. They've done great things for our company. They've contributed to our company. Some of their best people in sales are folks who have backgrounds. And so, I think that a lot of the work has to be done, by employers. Employers have to be willing to do the necessary work to change, to reevaluate their hiring policies, and also to reevaluate their culture, right? Because we want to make sure that these companies are creating a culture that is inclusive, that is welcoming to people who are formerly incarcerated.
So, Sean, if I may take just a few seconds to respond to Damany, I have a couple pieces of legislation that is going through the cycle right now that he should know about. The first one is AB 328. It's by Assembly Member Chu, CHIU. It's reentry housing program. Mm-hmm. So this piece of legislation, if it passes this year, will take a portion of CDCR money to create reentry housing specifically for formerly incarcerated folks. Mm-hmm. Secondly, SB 416, it's authored by Ben Waso.
Okay.
So this is a bill that I'm working on this year, and it protects incarcerated students.
Okay.
So when you talk about what's next for them, this is what we're trying to do, make sure that folks who are inside get the proper supports that you talked about, the academic advising, the support that they need to then transfer to a CSU or to a UC or private college in California. And that's going to allow them to do that, because as you're right, employment and career is a challenge, and it can be a challenge for folks who even have a degree and aren't justice involved or have an incarceration experience. But I think that's where programs like Project Rebound, Underground Scholars, Rising Scholars come in. We center the leadership of those most impacted by the criminal legal punishment system. And so we're all university employees. We employ our students on campus. We can create jobs for them, and we use our experiences and our education to leverage that kind of power and build that power across university campuses. So just two pieces of legislation, but there's a whole lot of other pieces of legislation coming out this year that's going to be specifically geared towards formerly incarcerated people here in California.
Romarilyn, if I may add to that real quickly, are you familiar with AB 417?
Not AB 417. Okay. No, that's AB 717.
Here's McCarthy's bill that will allocate funding for formerly incarcerated students at community colleges. It's called the Rising Scholars.
Oh, the Rising Scholars bill. Yes. Thank you.
This is the power of a room like this, right?
I wanted to jump in, brother. I didn't want to cut you out.
Shoot.
We got a lot of people on the call, and I want to make sure you understand why we brought these people here.
Mm.
If we're not doing it in our state, we want to make sure this is a bridge. My network is my network. So we brought people in who are doing different things in our state. You guys are family now. So we say, listen, if we're not doing it in Connecticut, I got case managers, I got educators, I got colleges on this call. Like, don't be thinking why they're here. We know they're here so we can spark ideas. If we're not doing it, this is why we brought them in, because number one, we want to show that it is being done. So no, you can no longer tell it don't happen. It's being done. So I don't care what level of criminal justice you are in. I want us to be taking this information in, because the next time these people are at the table, we will be building the next level of transition for people that are locked up. I just had to say that, brother.
Listen, man, and again, that's the power of a room such as this, man. It's people here I would never have met, probably would have never have heard about. It's programs and all kinds of endless possibilities. You know, that's what my mind sees inside of the chess world. We look at pawns as endless possibilities, man. Everybody here has potential for to make things even better than they already are. And Mr. Donovan,
Yeah.
between you and Miss Romarilyn, being that you guys have criminal backgrounds, do you have any additional barriers put upon you with the work that you currently are doing now?
Okay, let me first I want to applaud everybody for the work they're doing. And it's great to hear that it's going on across our country like this. It really motivates me to know that this is happening. But my work is different. What I do is a little bit different. The angle I come from is different. So I deal with the individual that's incarcerated, for instance. And I believe that all of the programs that we work and we fight and we advocate for can exist. And they can all be these beautiful programs. But if that individual is not ready to take that help that's there, that's offered, that program that's offered, then it's for what? It's a waste. So what I do is I think of how can we help the people that we work with on a daily basis be prepared for these opportunities when they present themselves. So I get each individual, when we go into these institutions, I go into every institution in Ohio before the COVID hit, of course. And when I get a chance to talk to individuals and I ask them, like, what are you looking to do when you get out? For the most part, it's either go to school, start a program, work with children, open a car wash or a beauty salon. It's the same plan that seems to be passed on from when I was incarcerated in 2003 when I came home, all the way up to 2021. So what I strive to do is help each individual that I work with find a purpose and a reason to be free. You got to have a reason to be out here. You have to have a reason to be free. And when I can work with a person, I can meet them while they're incarcerated, while they're at the lowest point in their lives, and I can be here in my office right here. My office is right up the street from the county jail. I can look out this window here and I can see our county jail. I can look out the back window and our community-based corrections facility is right behind me. When I get a chance to build with an individual and I tell them, I'm here for you when you get out. They get out, we've established our relationship while incarcerated, they come here. And then I start to work with them. And then we start to redirect them. And then I start to see exactly who is real and who is not real, because we know it's a lot of game that can be ran. That way, when I go to these jobs that we advocate for, and I talk to these owners of these companies in Akron and in Ohio, in Summit County, and I tell them, look, our thing is give me one. Just give me one position at your company. If you give me one position at your company and I can put a person in that position that's prepared to take advantage of this opportunity, and I can continue to walk alongside of that person, you'll have no problem giving me two. You'll have no problem giving me three. And then I can go back to my people. I don't consider my people, I don't say the word clients. I consider these to be my people. When I go back to my people and I tell my people, look, I got you a job. And not only do I have you a job, I have you an opportunity to change your life. Are you ready for it? And they say, yeah, Donovan, I'm ready for it. And they go in there and they take that opportunity to change their life. And I see it. I see the person that facilitates my reentry support meeting on Tuesdays is a person that was incarcerated for 20 years for aggravated murder. And I have watched him come out from day one to the point now where we were able to hire him. He works here with us now. He gets paid to go back into the prisons and do what I do. And then me and him together can go and get the next one. And then we start to build a community of supportive people who have a shared experience, who when we go to these companies and we go to these schools and we go to these operations and we say, give us an opportunity to show you that we are prepared. We are prepared to take advantage of this that you are offering us. And we won't use it and we won't misuse it. And you won't have to worry about sometimes the people that get in position to take advantage of these opportunities are not the people that should be in those positions. And it's up to us to be honest as a segment of the community who have been affected by the criminal justice system. It's up to us to be honest with each other and say, yes, I am prepared to take this, or no, I am not. So the work that I do on a daily basis, let me go back 1 minute and then I'll pass the mic. What happens is many of us go to prison and we go to prison from bad situations. We go to prison and we go into an institution with post-traumatic stress already on us. We go and we have experience of no fathers in the home. Mothers may be addicted to drugs. Father may be addicted to drugs. No mothers in the home. We might come from low-income housing. We might come from no-income housing. There's no telling the effects of post-traumatic stress we go into prison with. While we are incarcerated, we encounter all other kinds of trauma, all other kinds of stress, all other kinds of heartache. We get released and we have what's called post-incarceration syndrome. You can look it up, PICS, post-incarceration syndrome. So you have an individual, let's say Donovan, who goes to prison and he has post-traumatic stress from how he grew up. He goes in prison and he picks up incarcerated trauma, post-incarceration syndrome when he's released. He's released with $75 or whatever you are released from in your particular state, a bus pass, a ticket home, and he's saying, okay, brother, you should be all right. When in reality, I am not all right. When in reality, there is so much I need, so much more than a job, transportation, and housing can provide for me. So your original question, you asked it, I have many success stories. I don't have just one or two, I have many success stories. The difference that makes our program different is at 4 o'clock in the morning, when you out there and you've been incarcerated and now you're released and it's 4 o'clock in the morning and those old demons are creeping in and you right at that point where you could do something that could send you back, you got a phone number. Donovan is gonna answer that phone. That's the difference in what we do and what other programs do. So I have many successes, man, many.
Praises, man. That's what's up, fam. That's what's up. And I like your wordplay. I like that you take the words and transform them because, again, we come from communities that use words that are detrimental to our success, first of all.
That's right.
You know, so transforming words into power and giving people the ability to actually utilize those and energize themselves and rebuild themselves due to the language in the conversation is key, very key too. Young lady, you had anything you wanted to add?
Yeah,
or anybody for that.
I'll just say that's amazing, Donovan. We have similar programs like that here in California. Project Kinship is one of those organizations that have peer navigators. It's right around the corner from, the Orange County Jail. So they're there in the middle of the night, there to help folks who are being released that don't have clothing, don't have food, et cetera. All that's great. We have a lot of organizations that are going inside prisons, pre-COVID and providing that type of support groups to help folks transition out, like the 5 Ventures. But we have a new program that I'm a part of, Uncommon Law. It's a law firm in the Bay Area that's been working with incarcerated lifers for years, helping them with parole board, et cetera. They've just developed a program called Harm to Home, From Harm to Home, and it does just what Donovan talked about. It's created by formerly incarcerated people. It's facilitated by formerly incarcerated people so that those inside can see our success as their success and can possibly mirror, or we can model the way for them. So it's really important that all of these programs, whether they're in-prison programs, community-based programs, reentry programs, higher ed programs, it doesn't matter what the program is, that the leadership comes from those who are most impacted by the issue, because that's how transformation really takes place. And if we're not centering the leadership of folks more impacted, and I love my people who have been in this movement who are not impacted by incarceration. I appreciate those warriors, but those of us who have this lived experience, when we go in and we talk about what we're doing now, it's transformative. It gives people hope, it's inspiration, and it gives them accountability to themselves because we've walked in their shoes, we've been in their places, and now they know if we can do it, they can do it.
And with that being said, between you and Donovan, do you guys still have any barriers? Do you face any barriers because of your criminal backgrounds, your criminal records? In any of the work that you do currently?
I do not.
Good. How about yourself, Donovan?
By barriers, what can you define that for me real quick?
I mean, just, you know, you may walk into a room as an executive director of your organization and somebody still, you know, throw that out there. Might have did some homework on you and say, you don't want to talk about your criminal background or whatever the case may be, or do you have an expungement or are you fully pardoned?
First of all, I'm a Black man in America. So of course I have barriers.
We ain't talking about your blackness.
Of course, barriers. So when you add that into a Black man in America with a felony, of course I have a barrier. But the thing that I like to do, the thing that I take pride in is destroying the preconceived or the prejudices that exist towards people who have been incarcerated. One of the things I kind of get a kick out of is when people say, I never even would have thought you was incarcerated, listening to you speak, you know, and we understand that no matter what. I tried to sign up to do a grocery delivery service after being free for 17 years. And they told me because of my record, I couldn't do it. You know, so of course we still face barriers, but the reality is how much are you willing to allow that barrier to affect you? And is it something you can kick over? Is it something you can kick out of the way? They told me I would never be able to go back into the institutions because I was convicted for aggravated robbery at the age of 18. Me and my peers were convicted for a series of aggravated robberies. And now, 4 years later, I go into any institution in Ohio. They told me that I would never be able to work for the county because of my record. And I worked for the county for 3 years before I took this present position that I sit in. Anything that I perceive as a barrier, I take full delight in kicking it out my way.
So you don't have any barriers. You just like me, because you know, in our professions, in our careers, in our jobs, we're success stories. So barriers that may exist for other people probably won't exist for us because of the work that we've done and the work that we've done on ourselves. So when I say I don't have any barriers, of course, I'm a Black woman in America. Race is always going to be a barrier for us. But as a professional person in my career choice, you know, when they see people like us, they don't see our past. And so a lot of those barriers eviscerate because of the rehabilitation that we've done. And so I that's what we give to our students, to our people inside. We give them that hope that no matter what, you know, 23 years, 12 years, 18 years, violent crime, non-violent crime, I'm a violent crime. You know, no matter what. I've been to the governor's office. I know half of the state senators in this state. I go into prisons. I work at a university. Anything's possible.
That's right.
Anything's possible when you put in the work.
You don't limit yourself mentally to those barriers. You guys are like locomotives. Keep up the great work, keep the steam, and keep all the energy.
That's right.
We have a couple of minutes, and I want to give the audience a chance to ask any questions of you guys, if you don't mind. So we're going to throw it out to the audience. I'm not sure if you want to raise your hand.
Sean, if you don't mind.
Shoot.
Brother here, Carlos Acevedo Jr. asked about, so yes, he said he needed to hear about bilingual services to address all these barriers. And how are you addressing the Latino community? If I may, I can tell you that in California, the prison population is heavily dominated by both African American and Latinos. And I should also say that roughly half the students that I teach, that I've taught in the past and still teach, are Latino. Obviously are dealing with a lot of the same issues. In terms of providing services, bilingual services, I know that is an area that at least my particular institution, the Solano College, could certainly improve it. So I can't currently speak to that. That's something that I think we're lacking. But I will say that on the reentry side, that a good percentage of the students that we serve are Latino. So we're dealing with mostly Black and brown students here, both inside and outside. The bilingual bilingual services, though, is certainly an area in need of addressing and improvement. Just speaking from my experience.
Thank you. There's another question in the chat. It says, how are undocumented people being addressed with these barriers after incarceration? I don't know if anyone wants to speak to that.
Well, I'll start. So both questions are really great. For Project Rebound, all of our outreach materials have been translated to Spanish. So we do have those that we send inside our prisons. We do have those available that can go out to the community colleges or to current students who are at Cal State Fullerton. So we have addressed, that the language barrier there when it comes to undocumented students, prospective students, folks that we know. We partner with a couple of different university law clinics who provide, who have crimmigration clinics who provide that type of legal support. And so we offer that for those who may need support facing deportation. We've had students in our programs after they graduate, get deported. We have students currently in our program who are undocumented. So we have resources on campus and in the community to help support with that. And it's very important because in California, the majority of the people who live in the state are brown people, and the majority of folks who are within our prisons are brown people. So it's something that we have to address and that we take very seriously in addressing. So it's active here, and I'm sure in most states. The Latinx community is underserved and very important part.
And real quickly, we were supposed to be joined by a panelist who could speak, I think, a lot more to that. Danny Murillo, who is one of my colleagues in the Rising Scholars Network and one of the founders of the Underground Scholars Program at UC Berkeley. So yes, they're absolutely.
He's also a part of Project Rebound at Cal State Long Beach, so he gets around. Danny gets around.
All right, and
y'all let Danny know. Hold on. Y'all let Danny know that he didn't show up at my event. I know it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and wherever he's at, you tell him I got beef with him, man. I might have to come out to Cali just to see him, man. Andrew, man, let's flights out to Cali.
Call him right after this call.
You let him know we missed him, because we definitely need that, because there are more questions that we want to know, because we don't leave our Black and brown nobody out. We don't want to leave nobody out, but if we don't have the answer, we don't have the answer. But that's a great question, and I will leave it to you if you have other people that will have that, because we record the chat and we can get it back to those people that have those questions that we can't answer. So back to you, brother.
All right, we got one last question, I believe, from DJ Vaughn. Says, send people that come out of jail to apply for entry-level jobs with the VA hospitals in your states. Every state has at least one. Said, I've been at the Connecticut VA hospital for 7 years and it's gainful employment.
Can I say something? Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you, Vaughn.
All right, listen. The United States government wrote the laws on discrimination. Agreeable? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we hear you.
All right. The United States government wrote the law on discrimination. And one of the things about discriminating is discriminating against people having a record and everything. But a lot of people think because Walmart won't hire them, why would I try to work for the government? But it's the exact opposite. I went to the VA hospital. I went to my interview. I told them that going to jail was the best thing that ever happened to me, even though it wasn't. But I told them that I put the jail thing in front before they kept me in a 45-minute interview and then say we can't use you because you've been arrested before or did time. But anyway, I worked there and I've been there 7 years successfully. And they wrote the law on discrimination. So 4,000 people work there. You can't have 4,000 people working somewhere and not one person has a felony. You can't have 4,000 people and nobody's black. You can't have nobody that's not obese. You can't, everything that gets, there's Muslim that can wear their traditional garb that work there. And every state has VA hospitals. I work in the housekeeping department. Since I've been working there, I got a degree in IT. It might be stopping me from getting the IT position because I've applied for a couple and didn't get them yet, but I'm the assistant manager in the housekeeping department, food services, entry level. And y'all can get some people in these places. They're in every state. I know I'm talking y'all to death, but it's real. But most felons wouldn't even think to apply at a federal job. If Home Depot won't hire you, why would you go to the federal government?
Well, listen, it's information, brother. And we're glad that you're sharing it. We're glad that you're sharing it because again, there's always loopholes. There's always different avenues that sometimes we don't address, or sometimes we're not told to address because they don't want the success that we're seeking, right? So again, when we find these little lanes and we break into these barriers, it's our duty to share the information amongst ourselves in these networks and with our people, man, if we want people to succeed. Like there's no reason why information should be withheld from anyone, you know? So with that being said, I got to turn it back over to Mr. McGraw and let him take us out on these good notes, man. But again, I appreciate all the conversation. I appreciate being invited to be a moderator at this event. I love what I see here, and I look forward to all of the activity that's going to take place moving forward. Thank you, and thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, brother.
Good job, brother. Man, this is what we wanted you to do. You know, I just got a couple things. First, I want to thank the panel. You know, I want to thank the panel for being here. You know, you guys came through. You know, we asked for you to come, and you know, I know that things happen, brother Danny. You know, we get pulled in so many different directions because they think we're unicorns. But this work that we're doing is to show that we're not unicorns. Man, if Donovan had his screen off, right, and nobody knew, they would have thought he was me because, see, our narratives become similar because no matter what part of the state, those experiences are similar. They're the same, right? So we say the same thing. We talk about the same things. So, you know, I really appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to say is if I knew the DJ had a criminal record, we would have never hired him. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. We're going to have to check the Andrew, man. We're supposed to do background checks. We're supposed to do background checks on these DJs, man. So now we know. You know, I see Molly's in the building, man. So we're gonna pitch to that. We just want to thank you. And this is just day one of us coming together. This is the foundation. So you guys brought definitely some ideas. I hope you sparked some energy in other people. Made me think like a lot of legislation is happening in California. You guys are making moves. So Connecticut, you know, we're considered a leader in criminal justice reform, but we still lag in other places. And I've noticed this by traveling around the world and networking with other criminal justice advocates and activists. So we think we might be ahead in one area, and you guys have shown us today that we've still got some ways to go. So I'm looking forward to that networking and bringing you guys in on other issues as we continue to build the bridge from the prison to the community. You know, you see Molly there. Molly's already writing. She's got all kinds of stuff, writing strategy boards in her room and everything. So with that being said, I'm gonna pass back to Andrew. Sean, man, great job. Super proud of you. And thank everybody. You guys are welcome to stay. And we're going to the next panel.